It's Saturday morning cartoons. Actually, the whole week has been cartoons, it seems like. Anyway, I was, of course, going through boxes here. It may seem like I'm trying to get organized here, but au contraire. I'm just going through old boxes and stuff. And we're going to have a sort of a, because I've got some rare books and stuff, nothing too valuable. But I am clearing out a bunch of stuff. So we're going to have a kind of little open house backyard book thing coming up in a month or so here, because a lot of these books we want to find good homes for heaven's sakes. But anyway, so I'm going through a bunch of stuff. And I found something today, a big envelope here that says Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, a pictorial synthesis of three great pillars of magic, Kabbalah, Enochi, and Goetia. Tarot cards and book by Lon Milo DuQuette. Now, I thought it would be fun because so many of you out there are authors, writers, perspective authors, perspective writers, people that think about this stuff a lot. Usually find themselves in a position of writing their own ideas and trying to find publishers and such. So if you're one of those people, because I get emails and messages asking me about various questions about how do you get published and things like that. And my main, most truthful answer is that you got to be lucky. And if you but over and above being lucky, you have to create the opportunity for your luck to take hold, to manifest. People say, well, you make your own luck. Well, you do. But there's a lot of people that work really hard that also don't get lucky, especially in the music business or the publishing business. So back in the Constance and I started working on the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic back in the late 80s. And finally in early, I think it was 1990 or 91 or something, my friend Rick Potter and I drove from Newport Beach, California to Miami Beach to attend what was then known as the ABA, the American Booksellers Association. It's now called the BEA, Book Expo America. And I wanted to pitch my tarot cards to Stuart Kaplan of U.S. Games. Now, these conventions aren't really there specifically for people out of the blue pitching their material to publishers. As a matter of fact, if you go to a big trade show like that with the intent of getting your material in front of prospective publishers, you're going to have to be lucky. But anyway, what does this have to do with what I was? This is my pitch package for Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. Now, I said tarot cards and book, but I didn't have a book. The only book I had was with Weiser. Well, I did 4 books with Christopher Hyatt earlier in like 1991. But I had My Life with the, not My Life with the Spirits, but The Magic of Thelema, now called The Magic of Aleister Crowley with Weiser. So I had a published book. And but I didn't have a book called Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. What I had was this. And I thought I would share with you my my pitch material for this. And a little bit later, I'll share with you my pitch book for the Chicken Kabbalah. Anyway, I made up a booklet. Tarot Ceremonial Magic, Tarot Book and Cards. On the back of it was about the creator. And there's the books that I've written or co-written so far. Lon Milo DuQuette is no stranger to the world of occult literature. He's a respected author. Yeah, I've got 4 books and 4.5 books. And expert on tarot. Now, can you imagine how young I was and presumptuous I was to invent myself like that? Okay. You'll have to do that too. Just like a magician has to know where they are. Just like a magician has to create a motto before they even know that they have to live up to that motto. Okay, there's a little bit something about this. There's, I presume to give it a title and an author, and and all of the material there. I've described a book there that doesn't exist yet. And a nice little booklet like this. I was lucky to work managing a small stock brokerage firm. Just the office manager type letters and stuff like that. Okay, here's what the pitch book looked like. Okay, and I show you the details of a card showing the various landmarks of it, Tattva symbols and Enochian squares and days of the year the card represents, things like that. And of course I couldn't afford color copies and stuff. And it says, students of astrology, magic, and the Western spiritual traditions will instantly recognize the practical value of these remarkable cards. Originally designed by Lon Milo DuQuette as a teaching aid, the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic forms a cohesive synthesis of the 3 most powerful systems of magic: Kabbalah, Enochian magic, and Goetia, enabling the student to instantly see the sublime harmony of the systems. In addition to the beautifully executed archetypal images of the tarot, each card displays the appropriate, now I itemize them there, see, degrees of the zodiac, days of the year, zodiac sign, planet or element, angels of the Shemhamferish, spirits of the Goetia, Enochian square, subangle or tablet, Tattva symbols, mercurial and qliphothic symbols, Hebrew letter and I Ching hexagram. The traditional Kabbalistic color scales are utilized in each card to assure its efficacy as a meditation device. Tarot Ceremonial Magic, not just another novelty tarot deck. It's a powerful and effective learning tool. The point I'm making here is that in order to approach a publisher, you have to, before they get the opportunity to see how good the writing of your book is, they're going to have to appreciate how good the writing of you selling yourself is. That's why when you send a query letter to a publisher, before you send the query letter or before you approach them, go to their website and carefully read the submissions guidelines. If the submission guidelines say, send a query letter and a synopsis, do that. Don't do anything else but that. If they say, send a query letter, cover letter, a synopsis, and a sample chapter, do that. Don't do anything else. Just imagine, put it in your mind that the submission guidelines mean that the publisher will expect an envelope from you. And that envelope won't be bigger than they expect. The envelope won't be smaller than they expect. And the envelope won't be heavier or thicker than they expect. If it is, they won't open it. But if it's exactly what they were expecting to see, it will appear on a pile on the submissions desk with all the other envelopes that look just like it. At that point, they won't be impressed by, oh, look, a whole big package from this person. Oh, they must be special. Well, you may be special, but it's not going to get past that table. So send exactly what they're looking for. In this case, I'm intending to pitch the publisher in person by somehow getting lucky enough to get my face in front of Stuart Kaplan. And I was. Okay, I just want to show you the booklet here. There's that cover thing. A simple tarot spread can determine which Enochian angel. Now, I wasn't expecting them to read this whole thing at first. There's another black and white line drawing. There I'm explaining what each page of the book part is going to look like. And that was for the trumps. That's how it was formatted for the trumps. This is how it's formatted for the aces. This is how it's formatted for the court cards. See, I've got all the stuff there. And how I've got it formatted for the small cards. Then as a tip-in, I've got all of the court cards and the small cards of all four suits on their own tree of life. The discs, the wands, the cups, and the swords. With a cover letter. It's not our intention to lure you away from the tarot deck you may currently fancy, but to help you understand the incalculable power and significance of whatever deck you may be using. And there's the Hebrew Kabbalah, and this is the one sheet. If the publisher wanted me to send one sheet, this is what I would send in an envelope that looks like all the other envelopes that they would open. Okay, and then I've got, there's all the trumps. Here is the Enochian Great Table, showing how each ace, each ace is an elemental tablet, and they each have their place on the elemental worlds. You could almost understand the method to the madness of Enochian just by looking at it. There's the aces and court cards forming the tablet of union of the Enochian system. And they're in order ex harp hacum ananta batum. So it'd be air, water, earth, fire. That's how the Enochians like it. So that was my pitch package for Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. And after all these years, of course, when I got to, I caught more or less pneumonia in New Orleans on the drive. We spent 3 days in New Orleans on the way. I don't remember much of it, actually. I do know that by the time I got to Miami, I was completely voiceless. I had lost my voice, I had laryngitis. So I more or less had to go to the BEA and talk with my hands. I went straight to my publisher's booth, which was Weiser, and Weiser's booth happened to be right next door to US Games. I went to Donald Weiser, who I already knew and had a wonderful relationship with Donald, and I somehow made him aware that I had a tarot deck that I wanted to get published. And he said, well, you'll want to talk to Stuart. I'll introduce you. He took me by the hand, literally, right next door to Stuart Kaplan. He said, Stuart, this is Lon DuQuette. He's one of our authors. I just had one book. He's got a tarot deck. You're going to publish the tarot deck, and we'll publish his book. You have to be lucky, but you have to work the shit out of yourself, too. Stuart said, okay. I was at the BEA approximately 45 seconds after I got to the Weiser booth. I had a deal with US Game Systems, and I had a deal with Weiser for the second book of mine, Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. Now that's luck, okay. But then I had to write the book too. Okay. Years later, this is just one big digression this morning, isn't it? A few years later, okay, I had published with Weiser the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. US Games came out with the cards. The cards did very well for 2 full runs with US Game Systems over about a 15-year period before they decided that they're probably not going to get a hell of a lot more out of DuQuette, and I found other publishers for the Tarot Ceremonial Magic. Right now, it's Magical Omaha that is keeping the deck in print. This is their edition of it, and a brand new printing is. It might have already arrived. It has been shipped, so. And it has fun things in it, too, that if you've got this one, you might want the new one, too, because it's got couple little doodads in it. But eventually, I got the idea from Monday Night Magic class, because I've been teaching basic Kabbalah to Monday Night Magic class for years at this point. I'm not sure what year we're talking about, 1990 something, I think. And my teaching method for Kabbalah, because Kabbalah can be a very dry subject, not only does it on the surface appear to be very dry, but it is not always apparent what the fuck good any of this Kabbalah study is anyway. It's not like it's weird. Why do you study Kabbalah? And a Kabbalist has been studying it for many years. They're still hard-pressed to say, I don't know why I'm studying it, but it's cool, you know? So in order for me to communicate and to light this fire of recognition of the great self-transformational potential in the Kabbalah is, at Monday Night Magic class, I've had to get kind of goofier and more informal. And because I've learned that a great deal of profound information and profound realization, even more than information, realization, can be triggered and retained and remembered when you're laughing at it. You sometimes can process the profound meaning of some great truth when it's in the form of a joke. More truth can be communicated through laughter than it can through study. And year after year, when I do my basic Kabbalah classes, they just kept getting goofier and goofier and goofier. And I had to say, well, imagine, this didn't happen historically, but imagine there was this Kabbalistic boarding school, you know, way back when, and I made up scenarios to how all of this knowledge, all this wisdom evolved and developed by putting it in a sort of a fictional context. So, in my studies, I ran across who wasn't Eric Fromm. It was a great Kabbalist said that all great Jewish literature, Kabbalistic literature, was pseudepigraphic. In other words, it was written by someone who said they were writing as somebody else. So that's why we've got all these Key of Solomons. Okay, King Solomon didn't write any of this Keys of Solomon. Somebody wrote it and said Solomon wrote it. Well, there's just a love in Jewish spiritual literature. There's a love of masquerade. This is written in the 2nd century BC by Rabbi Bluse, who's in a cave hiding from the Romans. Well, it was written in 1400 in Spain, you know. But it opens up a door in the students. So I decided to make up a rabbi, and I've told the story before, because a very orthodox Kabbalist almost charged the stage when I was talking about my book, The Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, at the Bodhi Tree bookstore in Hollywood. And I just couldn't stand that I was sort of making light of this things that obviously he was very. But anyway, I decided to not write as myself, but to write as a rabbi that I made up, a phony rabbi. Okay, not a real one. Okay, and I still get emails that, how dare you call yourself a rabbi? You know, you're. Well, anyway, here's the pitch book. Now, you got to remember that Donald Weiser is, or was, rest his soul, a Jewish Kabbalist. Okay. Among other things, he knew his stuff, okay? And I was going to have to pitch him a book, a goofy book, a comedy book, a real Kabbalah book, but a goofy, weird Kabbalah book. And so, once again, at a trade show, I came with a small little booklet like this. The Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. The Chicken Kabbalah is a deceptively self-effacing term which designates those aspects of the ancient Hebrew Kabbalah that are of particular relevance to students and practitioners of the Western magic and Hermetic arts, while giving the profoundest respect to those individuals and institutions that teach the rich parochial traditions of speculative Kabbalah. The Chicken Kabbalah works to effect practical life changes using the mind-transcending techniques of the art. In the finest tradition of Western mystical literature, Lon Milo DuQuette perpetuates a profound and hilarious hoax and introduces us to the life and work of the legendary enfant terrible of the modern Kabbalistic movement, Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. And then on the back of the thing is that thing. Now, on the inside, I guess I'll just take this. Warning, and this was in red. The format of this book is a complete hoax. But inside the hoax are the purest gems of Kabbalistic wisdom. Is the Chicken Kabbalah for real? You bet! It's real pseudepigraphy. Pseudepigrapha. Any various pseudepigraphas falsely inscribed, any of the various pseudonymous or anonymous Jewish religious writing not included in the canon of biblical scripture. See, I'm just buying my way out of all of it. Literary forgeries are good. The Hebrew scholar Gershom Scholem wrote, "For a long time we've known that literary forgeries represent a flight into anonymity and pseudonymity just as often as they indicate trickery, and not for nothing have retained the foreign word pseudepigrapha." I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. To designate in particular, a legitimate category of religious literature, The Zohar is the most important, but by far not the only example of such love of masquerade in Jewish literature. Is Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford real? You bet. He's a real pseudepographic character. Okay, and then another little definition. Who was Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford? Born before July 23rd, that's Robert Anton Wilson can tell you about that. When his disciples reported him missing, Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford was virtually unknown to the world of modern esotericism. The few individuals who knew the man and his work were violently polarized in their opinions. Most dismissed him as a mad and impudent charlatan. A tiny number, however, passionately embraced his Chicken Kabbalah and reveled in his irreverent and sometimes offensive style, proclaiming it dust in the eyes of the profane. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. There, but there was a tip-in page there that this didn't print out. There's Hebrew letters for A, B, C, D. Got the 10 Command Rants and the story of the 10 Command Rants in it. Anyway, I thought for Saturday cartoons, that'd be a fun thing to share with you. And if you're still with me, I hope you got a kick out of that. Anyway, the publishing world of today is obviously light years different. I won't say light years better or worse, but different than it was back in the early 90s when I was shamelessly pitching this material. First of all, it's good to have material worthy of being pitched. But then it's always good to remember not to hide your light, no matter how imaginary or presumptuous. It's not good to hide your light under a bushel or a basket or whatever the quote is, especially when dealing with a publisher. And if I was going to leave you with any hint, take great care in how you approach them, and especially initially. Believe me, they figure if you can't write a good query letter, if you can't present yourself in a way that's not only memorable but impressive, if you can't write a good query letter, they figure you can't write a good book. And that might be, in many cases, unfair. Nevertheless, it is the way it is. Now we have the ability to self-publish, which can be a good thing, because obviously if the book sells for $6, you get $6. And if a publisher, big or small, publishes it, you only get a very small percentage of the retail price. But I want you to remember, esoteric literature doesn't sell enough to make a difference in your income. And it's far better to have a beautiful little publisher's imprint, a publisher with worldwide distribution, a publisher that does all of the work for you, a publisher that edits and makes sure you don't sound like a complete idiot for all the typos you have, an editor that puts it together with a beautiful font and everything else. It's better to get 50 cents a copy for your book when it's a real book than it is for you to go on Amazon and with your own typesetting and your own ideas, which may be good, but not always wisely constructed and everything else. Try first to get a publisher. Find a publisher or get a list. Make yourself a list of publishers of the books that you read, the books that you like. Then go to their website and carefully make note of the submission guidelines. And if they say you may not hear back from us for 9 to 12 months or 9 to 15 months, sometimes it says, be patient. Send out maybe a dozen of them. And if they say don't call us back, we'll call you, let them do that. You haven't fallen through the cracks, at least not within 2 years, okay? Instead of, they don't like people calling, they don't like people writing many times, okay? It doesn't help, it hurts, okay? It's easier to have the mindset that I sent the perfect query approach letter for submissions. I did what I was supposed to do. You may as well just put it out of your mind and keep writing other publishers, because it doesn't help to keep picking at the scab of the publishing industry. So that's my businessy words of wisdom for Saturday morning cartoons. I hope for some of you it's been informative. Anyway, gee, it's almost 40 minutes. I'm sorry I've taken up your day like this. Until tomorrow for Sunday school, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.